Hey guys, I'm Urizi. This story is all about what if Naruto was raised by the Inuzuka family? What misadventures could stem from such an upbringing? Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video, and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 1, How It All Began. A Fox Among the Hounds. A wild-looking, brown-haired woman with a 3-month-old baby in a snuggly and an aging man in red and white robes peered down at a sleeping blonde infant with whisker marks. Beside her sat a large black dog that was missing an eye and an ear. "Is this him?" the woman asked as she picked up the babe, careful as not to wake him. "Yes, Tsame. This is the boy you are going to raise," replied the old man. The woman named Tsame quirked an eyebrow at the statement. "Forgive the question, Lord Hokage, but why of all people would you choose me to raise this particular boy?" she queried. Hiruzen Sarutobi chuckled. "My dear Tsame, I understand you are still mourning the loss of your husband, but the boy is an orphan and the Kyuubi's jailer. With most of the village still reeling from the loss of their loved ones, they'll be crying for blood. The last thing we need is the boy to be ostracized by his own community. He needs a mother and—" his voice dropped to a whisper. "It was stated in the Fourth's will that his son be raised in a loving family should anything happen to him or his wife." Tsume's eyes widened. "The boy is Minato and Kushina's son," she gasped. She squinted at the whiskered face cradled against her. "Now that you mention it, he does bear a striking resemblance to good old Yandi, bless his soul. Without the whisker marks, he looks a lot like a mini Minato." "All true," nodded the old man. "But keep this information an S-class secret. Majority of the village does not know that the Namikaze clan still lives on. Aside from you and me, the only other people to know of the boy's true lineage and condition are Hayashi Hyuga, the Inoshika-jo trio, Mikoto Uchiha, and Shibuyabu Rame, and they all have sworn to secrecy, even to their own families. Jiraiya, being present at the time of the sealing, already knows the whole story. Don't breathe a word about this to the village and the other clans. If Iwa ever finds out that the Yellow Flash had a son, we may as well be in for the Fourth Great Shinobi War." "I understand," Tsame answered. "But one thing still bothers me, why of all people did you choose me to be Mini Minato's mother? Why not Yoshino? Or Mikoto? Or—" Sarutobi chuckled again. "Tsame, the reason I chose you is because I feel that you are the best kind of mother there is. You appear tough, but you are fair and you love your children dearly. Yoshino, as sweet as she is, has the tendency to be a bit of a nag, and though Mikoto means well, she is the sort that babies and coddles her children. Minato would be turning in his grave were his son to grow up into a henpecked rebel or a spoiled brat." Tsame blushed at the compliment on her maternal skills. "Oh, of course, Lord Hokage. With you as my witness, I pledge upon the Inuzuka name that I will raise this pup as if he was my own." Her normally severe expression softened as she gazed at the infant cradled in her arms. "Welcome to the family, Minato Jr., she cooed. "Actually," Sarutobi corrected rather lightheartedly, "his name is Naruto." Tsame quirked an eyebrow. "Like the fish cake?" She snickered a bit. "Leave it to Minato to name his offspring after a ramen topping. I swear, if he hadn't met Kushina, that goofball would have married the world's biggest bowl of ramen." "Actually he was named after the protagonist in Jiraiya's first book," Sarutobi said. "It may have not appealed to the general public, but its story seemed to have been dynamic enough to inspire Minato and Kushina." He handed her a sheaf of papers. "Anyway, before you leave, here are Naruto's adoption papers and an edited copy of his birth certificate." Tsame gave the papers a suspicious look. "Edited birth certificate?" "Yes," the third replied. "For Naruto's safety. We can't go trouncing about announcing that we have the Fourth's legacy now, can we? Heaven knows what Iwa would do if they ever found out that the feared Yellow Flash had a son. For the moment, the late Ichiro and Yum Hasegawa will be acknowledged as Naruto's parents. Not to worry though, I have the original copy and Minato and Kushina's wedding certificate. When he is ready, we will reveal his true heritage." "I see," said the Inuzuka matriarch, taking the documents. "Well then, if there's nothing more to discuss, I'll be taking my leave now, Lord Hokage." "Very well, Tsame," Sarutobi replied. I wish you the best of luck, and may the will of fire continue to burn brightly within you and your clan. As Tsume Inuzuka walked down the streets of Konoha, she peered down at the baby sleeping peacefully in her arms. Naruto Inuzuka, she mused, smiling at the child. A wonderful name for my wonderful new son. 2 years later. It was another normal day in the Inuzuka household. Or at least what was normal by Inuzuka standards. Hana, now 7, was about to begin her first day at the academy. Just as she was about to step out, her brothers Naruto and Kiba caught sight of her and began clamoring to tag along. If Hana go, we go too, babbled the two boys. Kiba, Naruto, you can't go to school yet, Hana said as she tried to pry the toddlers off her. Naruto looked up at her with big, puppy dog eyes. Why not? Because you're too little, came the simple reply. Naruto not little, declared the blonde. Me big boy. You just no let us go cause you meanie, declared Kiba. Hana's patience began to wear thin. Look, I don't really have the time for this. I gotta go, okay? I'll take you to school with me someday, just not now. She finally pried her brothers off and hurried to school. Hana no go. Naruto bawled. We wanna go too. Wah! Kiba wailed. He picked up a building block and hurled it at the door. The ensuing noise had Tsume and her canine partner Kuromaru running into the room. What's going on here? She asked. What's with the tears, pups? Naruto sniffled and hiccuped. We wanna go with Hana, but Hana meanie and she go but we no go. She said we too little. Kiba pouted. Tsume gathered both boys into a hug. I don't think you're too little, she said in a motherly tone. She kissed them both on the forehead. Because you're my two big boys. So we can go with Hana? Naruto asked hopefully. Even better, said Tsume. Suit up pups, cause we're going to the park. At the park, the boys were supervised by the watchful eyes of Tsume and her canine partner, Kuromaru. While the two boys frolicked in the grass, the Inuzuka clan head took the time to assess her children. Hana, her eldest, was the only daughter. After losing her father in such an early age, she was always in a hurry to grow up. She also acted as if she was more mature than what she was supposed to be, causing her to sometimes be annoyed by her brother's childish antics. Kiba, her biological son, was older than Naruto by 3 months. He was a wild little spitfire who constantly got into trouble. Looking back, Tsume chuckled at the memory of Kiba when he chased after a puppy, only to get stuck in its kennel. It took some axle grease and the help of Shikaku Nara and Chauza Akimichi to get him out. Finally, there was Naruto, her youngest and adopted son. He was always cheerful and energetic. In some ways, he was like Kiba, but where Kiba was very wild, Naruto was somewhat more behaved. Unfortunately, that did not mean that he did not make his share of mischief. In fact, both Kiba and Naruto were practically inseparable. One was never without the other. It was also apparent that wherever the two boys went, trouble was sure to follow. Kuromaru's voice broke the silence. They grow up so fast, don't they? Tsume sighed, a rare act for the woman. Yeah. She sighed again. It feels like it was only yesterday when I was nursing my own litter. Hana's going to school and the boys are beginning to talk and toddle. As wild they are, they're turning out quite nicely. Says you, replied the black dog. My body tends to think otherwise. I find your pups more of the rough and tumble type. With all the rides I've given them, even the pain's going to my fur. Oh come now, Tsume chuckled. You're exaggerating. No, no. I'm serious, asserted Kuromaru. I swear, if Naruto pulls on my ear one more time, I'll be known as the dog with no ears, and don't get me started with dash. Just then, a piercing howl cut their conversation short and had them running to the boys for the second time that day. Kiba had apparently stepped into an anthill and got bitten by fire ants while Naruto stood by, pointing and laughing. Shaking her head, Tsume went over to calm her hysterical sons. Yep, she muttered to herself as she rubbed some salve over Kiba's boo-boos. Just another regular day at the doghouse. 4 more years had passed, and through that duration of time, the Inuzuka children had encountered all sorts of people, friend and foe alike. When Hana was 8, her mother gave her not one, but 3 partners to work with the Haimaru triplets. The puppies bonded well with the little girl, and it was not long after that Hana began studying veterinary medicine to better help and understand her canine partners. Throughout that time, Naruto and Kiba had also amassed their own group of friends. So far, they had already befriended with the second-generation Inuzuka trio, the Aburame and Hyuga heirs, and a civilian girl by the name of Sakura Harino. However, new friends also came with new enemies or rivals, in a sense. 8-year-old Hana had come home crying one day, claiming that one Itachi Uchiha had called her meals dog food after she offered him some. Upon witnessing this, Naruto and Kiba had declared war upon Itachi's younger brother Sasuke after they demanded him to tell the elder Uchiha to apologize to their sister, and Sasuke just grunted and walked off. Since then, a sort of family feud had broken out between the Inuzukas and the Uchihas. It became a common occurrence for the Inuzuka brothers to go to the Uchiha district and pull all sorts of pranks, just to have Fugaku Uchiha haul them off to their mother, engage into a verbal fourth shinobi war with her, and stalk off, fuming about the barbarous ways of the Inuzuka. As for the boys, their punishment made a session with the Umbu torture and interrogation look like a tea party. It was now Naruto's 6th birthday. The party was being held in the Inuzuka's backyard, and it was abuzz with the excited chatter of the children, concerning the fact that they would be going to the academy next year. The excitement and joy was further amplified when Sakura said her parents said she could attend the academy along with her friends. The children had a lot of fun. There were games like paper scooper and target practice, and there were prizes and cake. But best of all were the gifts Naruto received from his friends and family. His family had gotten him a brand new set of practice shuriken and kunai. Shikamaru, who was too lazy to actually shop for something, brought a monetary gift. Choji had brought him a super shinobi action figure. Ino had brought him a potted cactus, as Naruto had an interest in horticulture. Sakura had given him a set of new clothes, and Hinata had given him a frog plushie. Lastly, Shino had given him a stainless steel watch compass, making Kiba a little jealous. All in all, it was a day of fun and surprises, but the proverbial cherry on the sundae was when the Hokage had shown up after everyone had left, bringing in an elongated, canvas-wrapped parcel along with him. Naruto was ecstatic. The old man was like a grandfather to him, and he had allowed Naruto to wear his hat while Tsume took the birthday boy's picture. However, even best day ever could only last for so long, and it was soon bedtime for Naruto. Both Tsume and Sarutobi chuckled as the protesting boy was ushered off to his room by the combined efforts of Hana and Kuromaru. As soon as the children were safely tucked in bed, Sarutobi brought forth his parcel and handed it over to Tsume. Curious, the Inuzuka matriarch shifted the wrappings a bit to find a Koda key encased in a simple lacquer sheath. "Lord Hokage, what is dash?" Tsume began. "This is Naruto's birthday present from his parents," Sarutobi replied in a hushed tone. "You remember Minato's trademark weapon, don't you?" Tsume's eyes widened in surprise. "You mean this is the dash?" she gasped. Sarutobi nodded, answering all her speculations in that one gesture. "Yes, it is. Although it is his birthright, I feel that Naruto is not yet ready to wield such a blade. That is why, as his legal guardian, you are entitled to full acquisition of the Namikaze family blade until Naruto has proven himself worthy to be its master." "And how would I know when that would be?" Tsume asked, genuinely confused. Sarutobi's reply was as cryptic as it was intriguing. "That would be the day Naruto finds his warrior's soul." Chapter 2, Life in the Academy. 1 year after Sarutobi's visit, Naruto and Kiba were now eligible to enter the Ninja Academy. During that time, the boys had earned the titles of the Prankster Kings of Konoha. Their pranks were not limited to releasing the deer at the Nara Ranch, injecting Ibiki Marino's truth serum into the Akimichi's soldier pills, and a fake letter telling the Aburames to house sit the Yamanaka flower shop. Although those clans were family friends of the Inuzukas, it did not stop them from hauling the boys back to their mother with complaints and have her give Naruto and Kiba the scolding of their life. "But Kiba whined. "Do we have to behave in school?" "Quiet, runt," scolded his mother, while straightening out the wrinkles on her son's hoodie. "While you're there, I want you to act like the ninja you're going to be. I've had it with the complaints I'm getting from the village." They're piling up faster than the Hokage's paperwork. Kiba's in trouble. Kiba's in trouble. Naruto chanted in a sing-song voice. He went on and on until Tsume pinched him in the ear. Ow! What was that for? Naruto yelled, rubbing his sore ear. That is what I call karma, said Tsume, turning her attention to her second son and tidying up his hair. Now, off to school with you two. She called, giving each of the boys a motherly kiss on the cheek and receiving a hug from both boys in return. As Kiba and Naruto disappeared down the street, Tsume and Kuromaru stood in the doorway watching them with pride and nostalgia. They grow up so fast. Looking at the roster for his class, Iruka Umino did not give the names much thought until he came to the letter I. As he scanned across the list, he came across two names that shook his bearings: Inuzuka, Kiba, and Inuzuka, Naruto. He rubbed his eyes and stared at the two names again. As he passed out in shock, he could only think of one thing. This is going to be the longest 5 years of my life. Naruto and Kiba finally arrived to find their friends already in class. Shikamaru was sitting by the window, staring at the clouds floating by. Choji sat beside the pineapple-headed boy, inhaling chips, while Shino was situated beside Choji, quietly observing an ant crawl over his pencil. A bit further off, Sakura and Ino were having another inane argument over Sasuke Uchiha, and behind them, sitting all by herself, was Hinata Hyuga. Before the boys could say anything, a crisp voice dissolved the classroom chatter. "All right class, into your seats," Iruka called, clapping his hands. "And that includes you too," he said, looking at the boys before him. Naruto and Kiba obeyed and took the two empty seats beside Hinata. Naruto sat right beside Hinata and Kiba sat beside Naruto. As soon as the Inuzuka brothers sat down, Iruka began the orientation. By the time Iruka had finished the orientation, it was already 5 minutes past noon. The second he dismissed the class for lunch, everyone practically made a beeline for the door, anxious to get fed. Outside, the other students were already in the academy courtyard enjoying their break. "Man, that was boring," Kiba exclaimed, stretching his arms. "Tell me about it," Naruto replied. "That orientation left me more drained than Shikamaru before and after naps." "Hey! I resent that," protested the lazy Nara. Choji patted his friend's back. "But it's true, you know," he replied, agreeing with Naruto. Shino snorted, repressing the chuckle that was threatening to erupt. "Hey guys, over here." The boys looked around to find Sakura waving at them with Ino and Hinata. Joining the girls, they found a nice spot to eat their lunches underneath an aspen tree. While they were eating, they decided to swap each other's lunches. It was during this taste test that they found that Ino had the best vegetable dishes, the Hyugas had excellent rice balls, Mrs. Harano made the best sweet dumplings, the Inuzukas had the best meat dishes, the Akimichis had great noodles, Yoshino made the best soup, and Mrs. Aburama made the best candies. So far, the children had a nice, peaceful lunch. That is, until Kiba made a joke and Naruto laughed, making water shoot out of his nose. This resulted in everyone else laughing, including Shino. When Shino laughed, it diverted everyone's attention from Naruto because it was a known fact that Shino never laughed. Not far from the cheery little gathering, Sasuke Uchiha stared wistfully at the 8 friends. He wished he could join in the fun, but what would his father say? The Uchihas were one of the oldest and noblest clans in Konoha, and it would cause a veritable uproar with the rest of the Uchiha clan if they saw him socializing with the so-called lesser clans, especially the Inuzukas. It was true that Hinata Hyuga of the noble Hyuga clan was in that group, but she was not the Hyuga heir. It was her cousin, Neji. It was Hyuga law that only a male Hyuga could assume the position of clan head, and so Neji had been brought into the main house and raised as a member of the main house. But then again, even Neji was friends with the Inuzuka brothers. Not close friends like the Nara, Akimichi, Yamanaka, or Aburame, but friends nonetheless. Sasuke-kun. The Uchiha looked up to see Sakura Harano looking at him worriedly. "What?" he hissed. The pink-haired girl gulped nervously at the coldness of Sasuke's voice. "You seemed lonely, so Naruto and Kiba told me you could sit with us if you like." "They said they wouldn't mind," Sakura replied, taking his hand. "I don't need your pity, civilian," the Uchiha spat, yanking his arm from Sakura's grasp and promptly walking away. Sakura stared at the retreating back of the Uchiha, her jade orbs slowly brimming with tears. Silently, she began to sob until she felt a comforting hand on her shoulder. She turned her head to find Kiba. "Don't cry, Sakura. That jerk isn't even worth your tears. Come back and join us," said the dog boy, taking the Harano's hand. Sniffling and wiping away her tears, Sakura nodded and followed the Inuzuka back to the group. "What was that all about?" asked Naruto as Kiba and Sakura sat back down. "Nothing," replied his brother. "Uchiha was just being a tall piece of dookie." "I know what it is," said Naruto with a knowing grin. "You like Sakura?" "Hee. Kiba likes girls. Kiba like girls. Kiba likes ow." The blonde Inuzuka's sing-song chant was cut short by Kiba and Sakura's fists crashing onto his skull. "What was that for?" whined the blonde, nursing the twin lumps now forming on his head. "That's for being an annoying twerp," huffed a blushing Kiba and Sakura. Lunch was soon over and the students reluctantly trudged back to class. As Iruka began his very first lecture, Shikamaru felt his eyelids drop. "How troublesome," he yawned, and fell asleep. He was promptly awakened by a flying piece of chalk. "Mr. Nara," scolded Iruka, glaring at his charge. "I would appreciate it very much if you put some effort in paying attention." After chewing out Shikamaru for a bit longer, the teacher resumed his lecture. As Iruka droned on about God knew what, the Inuzuka brothers began to feel somewhat antsy. Kiba leaned towards to Naruto and whispered, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" "Yep," the blonde whispered back. The brothers looked at each other and a mischievous glint lit up in both their eyes as they came to that one unanimous thought. Prank time. While Iruka was writing on the board, he accidentally dropped the chalk, and as he bent down to pick it up, there was a sudden noise that sounded a lot like poot. Titters and giggles erupted from the rest of the class, including Shino, who burst into raucous laughter for the second time that day. Embarrassed beyond compare, Iruka quickly stood up, only to have another poot sound, resulting in even more laughter. "Okay, that's enough, poot. Quiet. Put. Geez, Iruka-sensei, what did you eat for lunch today?" asked Kiba, pinching his nose. "It's not me," exclaimed the irate and mortified school teacher, only to receive another put. Naruto, for the meantime, was laughing out loud and having the time of his life torturing the hapless teacher, when a fly flew into the room. It circled around for a bit, before flying into his wide, open mouth. The blonde's hands automatically flew for his throat as he hacked about, trying to expel the invading insect. As he did so, the whoopee cushion he was holding flew out of his hands and landed right in front of Iruka. "So it was you this whole time, huh?" scowled the genin, simultaneously confiscating the object that had cost him a good amount of grief and giving Naruto a hard whack on the back that finally dislodged the fly. Naruto coughed a bit before answering. "Ah, come on Iruka-sensei, it was just a bit of harmless fun." "Oh really?" said the teacher, arching one of his eyebrows. "Well, here's my idea of a bit of harmless fun everyone, take out your pencils and paper. Pop quiz." The entire class groaned and glared at the poor Inuzuka. It was now late afternoon and the academy students were now making their way home after an eventful first day. For most of them, home would probably mean a bit of rest, television, and a hot meal, but for Iruka Umino's class, it meant more studying. "Thanks a lot, Naruto," grumbled Ino, giving her fellow blonde the evil eye. "Not only did you let Iruka-sensei give us a really tough quiz on the first day, you also had to let him give us an essay homework." "What are you talking about, Ino pig?" asked Sakura. "That homework would probably raise our average from that disaster of a quiz." Ino gave an unladylike snort. "Figures. Only a total egghead like you would like homework." "Care to repeat that, Miss Piggy?" Sakura challenged. Hinata tried to intervene. "Girls, please don't fight," she stammered. Sakura and Ino looked at Hinata, then at each other, and huffed. "And here we go again," muttered Shikamaru, having seen this debacle one too many times. "I tell you, with the exception of Hinata, most girls are really." In return, he was rounded on by a furious-looking Ino and Sakura. Care to finish that sentence, Shika-kun? Ino asked with fake sweetness. Behind her, Sakura ominously cracked her knuckles. Shikamaru felt a chill run up his spine and clammed up the rest of the way. Chapter 3, The Genin Exams. 6 years came and went without a hitch. Despite his class clown attitude, Naruto was actually an excellent student. Even though he made wisecracks in the classroom and launched spitballs and paper shuriken, he always managed to stay at the top of his class. Although Kiba shared Naruto's class clownness, he was not as good as Naruto. However, it did not mean that he was that bad either. With his brother Naruto and his friend Sakura tutoring him, Kiba was in no danger of earning the dead last title. When Naruto and Kiba turned 8, Tsume presented them with their ninja hounds and began their training almost immediately. Kiba had gotten a white floppy-eared puppy by the name of Akamaru, while Naruto received a red pointy-eared, bushy-tailed puppy named Aomaru. So far, the two Inuzuka boys had already learned the Tsuiga, Gatsuiga, Shikyu no Jutsu, Jujin Bunshin, and the Jujin Bunshin Renden. In addition to this, Akamaru and Aomaru had also learned dynamic marking, bullet drive, and Koinu-Kuragaru, trans, puppy roll. It was now Genin exam day and the Inuzuka brothers were rather nervous, or at least Kiba was. As they shuffled to the academy, Kiba could feel the cold sweat forming on his brow. On the way, they met up with Shikamaru and Choji who were equally nervous. Further along the road, the boys came across Shino, Sakura, Ino, and Hinata. As walked to school, the 8 friends began to predict the outcome of the Genin exams. "I hope it's not too hard," muttered Choji through a mouthful of chips. "I heard they made last year's graduates run through the obstacle course blindfolded." "Don't worry," said Naruto. "That story is just a myth, just like the Rakudo Sennin and the Valley of the End." "Dude," called Kiba, nudging his brother. "Don't you remember the time Hana came home looking like something a cat dragged in? If I recall, that was the day of her Genin exam. Oh man, we are so the black stuff they scrape off toast." "It would be best if you do not go into hysterics," droned the ever-logical Shino. "It only aggravates the intensity of the situation." Naruto, Kiba, and Choji stared at Shino as if he had grown a second head. "In English, Poindexter," growled Kiba. "Troublesome," yawned the lazy Nara. He said, "Don't panic and take it easy, you're only making the situation worse." Suddenly, there was a panicked cry from both Sakura and Ino. "What happened?" asked Naruto, as he and the other boys ran to where the girls were, only to find Hinata sprawled unconscious. Sakura bit her lip. "I have no clue. 1 minute, we were just discussing about the test, and the next thing we knew, Hinata was out like a light." She snapped her fingers. Just like that. Naruto opened his Coleman and splashed some water onto Hinata's face and gave it a few light taps. Just then, the Hyuga began to wake up. "Oh. Where am I? What's going on?" she asked, bringing a hand up to her head. As her vision returned, the first thing she saw in full clarity were a pair of concerned, blue eyes hovering just a few inches away from her own. A blush spread across her cheeks in full force. "Naruto. Glad you're back, Hinata-chan," said the blonde Inuzuka, smiling gently at her. "You had us worried for a second there." With Naruto in very close proximity, Hinata felt rather lightheaded and was close to passing out. But this time, rescue came in the form of Ino. "Are you alright?" she asked, helping her friend up. "You gave us quite a scare." I am fine," answered Hinata. "Just nervous." Naruto fished out a pack of soda crackers from his backpack. "Nibble on a few of these," he said, offering the crackers to the Hyuga. "It usually help calm me down when I get the jitters." "Ah. Isn't that sweet," Kiba cooed, nudging both Shikamaru and Choji. "Are Naru-chan's in love?" he teased, making Hinata grow even redder. "Don't call me Naru-chan, dog breath!" hollered the irate blonde, conking Kiba on the head. "We eat the same thing, dumbass!" Kiba called, reciprocating the gesture. "Oh, shut up, Kibble. What did you call me?" the brunette growled. Naruto smirked slyly. "I called you Kibble, that's what your dog eats, and that's what your name sounds like." "That's it, fish cake." You're a dead man! Yelled the older Inuzuka, chasing his brother. The others just looked at each other and laughed as the Inuzukas chased each other all the way to the academy. The gang had arrived to the academy on time to find the Uchiha survivor glaring at them. Ever since Itachi had gone off the deep end and killed off most of the other Uchihas, Sasuke had become even more distant to other people. There were even rumors that he may have become psychologically unstable. What are you looking at? Snarled Kiba, returning the Uchiha's death glare. Sasuke simply gave a contemptuous grunt and walked away. I tell you, that guy is weird! Exclaimed Kiba. Even weirder than Shino? Asked Naruto. Pfft, huffed Kiba. Uchiha team makes Shino look like the definition of normal. Throughout the conversation, the other students could have sworn they saw a small tick forming right over the Aburame's temple. Okay people, called Iruka. This year's genin exam gives special attention to the illusion techniques such as the bunshin and the henge. When I call your name, please come down in front and transform into either me or the Hokage, and then create 3 bunsins. First up, Aburame, Shino. As Iruka came to Naruto's name, he transformed into a perfect copy of the Hokage. At this, he cried out, "Dreams do come true," earning a chorus of giggles from those present. Next, he created 3 perfect bunsins. Excellent! Chirped Iruka. You pass. You may now receive your forehead protector from Mizuki. After everyone had performed the test, Iruka announced that the test results would be released tomorrow. That meant the title of number 1 rookie would not be revealed until the next day. Naruto fidgeted with his forehead protector. He really wanted to know now. That only meant one thing. Sneaking into the academy after everyone else had gone home. Why are we here again? Asked Kiba in a hushed tone. If I don't like coming here during the day, what makes you think I'd like coming here during dusk? I need to know those results. Replied Naruto as he crept under one of the windows of his old classroom. Suddenly, he froze upon hearing muffled whispers coming from the room above them. He signaled Kiba to keep quiet, and the brothers silently crept closer to catch bits and pieces of the conversation. It's not that I don't agree, Mizuki, came a harsh whisper. What if we get caught? That's where the henge comes in, sneered the one called Mizuki. You go in as that fool Iruka, he gets framed and goes to jail, and we escape with the forbidden scroll. Naruto and Kiba gasped. Iruka-sensei was in trouble. Having heard enough, the 2 boys ran back home to formulate a plan to save their favorite teacher. Mizuki and his accomplice smirked greedily. The Takubitsu Jonin on duty were nowhere to be seen, leaving the scroll unguarded. Seeing the opportunity, they transformed into Iruka and took the scroll. Upon exiting the shrine, he transformed back to his true form, and handed the other end of the scroll to Mizuki, the 2 men fleeing into the encroaching darkness. Ugh! It's really heavy! Whined the accomplice. Shut up, snarled the silver-haired Chunin. Just a little bit more, and we can finally get out of this rat hole of a village. Is that so? Someone called. The 2 men looked around, but saw no one. Where was the voice coming from? Over here, morons. The scroll disappeared in a cloud of smoke, only to be replaced by a blonde-haired boy accompanied by a small, red, pointy-eared dog. We've been discovered. Gasped the accomplice. You idiot! Snarled Mizuki. We're Chunin. He's only a genin, a fresh one at that. Not to mention that we outnumber him 2 to 1. A fight with him would be over in a jiff. Oh really? Drawled Naruto, forming the necessary hand seals. What if I told you I can do this? Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 1 Naruto became 3, and the 2 Chunin stared at the sight. How did you? The first Naruto smirked. You guys were taking too long, so I decided to pass the time with a little advanced reading. But I'm not done yet. Making another hand sign, he yelled, Jujin Bunshin no Jutsu. The small puppy disappeared in a cloud of smoke and a 4th Naruto took his place. At this, all the Narutos gave a rather demonic smirk. Let the party begin. They shouted in unison. Jujin Kage Bunshin Renden. 1 Naruto gave Mizuki a particularly vicious uppercut. New. Another sent the second genin airborne with a flying kick. Ziu. The other two Narutos reacquainted the two men with the ground. Ka. The first two Narutos kicked the two men towards each other, making sure that the two criminals were on the path of collision. And this is the finisher. Called the original Naruto. Shihoka Gatsuga. The screams of Mizuki and his accomplice echoed through the forest as Naruto, Aomaru, and the two clones decimated them. There they are! Yelled a familiar voice. Kiba and Akamaru, Iruka, Tsume, and Kuromaru, and 4 Umbu came running into the battlefield. Their jaws nearly dropped at the damage the criminals suffered at the hands of Naruto. Whoa! You did this? Asked Kiba, nudging the battered and unconscious Mizuki with his foot. Yep. Naruto beamed proudly. Then looking at the stern faces of Iruka and Tsume, he paled considerably. Am I in trouble? He asked, looking like a child who had been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Tsume frowned at her sons. You snuck into the academy, entered the shrine, hid the scroll. Naruto and Kiba hugged each other in fear of their mother's wrath. He was going to be grounded until the day he died. Beat up a pair of criminals, and saved the day. Like the sun bursting through a cloudy day, Tsume's face broke into a smile. I'm very proud of both of you. Like Tsume, Iruka's stern face had also broke into a smile as he clasped both Naruto and Kiba's hands. I am forever grateful to the both of you. By foiling Mizuki's plan, not only did you save me from a terrible injustice, but you have also proved your allegiance to Konoha. You've become true ninja. And I am proud to have been your teacher. At this, the Inuzuka brothers launched themselves onto Iruka and Tsume, hugging the death out of them as the Umbu dragged the two traitors away. Meanwhile at the Hokage Tower, Sarutobi chuckled lightly as he had observed all the events on his crystal ball. Naruto Namikaze Inuzuka, the warrior's soul has awakened within you. Chapter 4, Welcome to the team. It was finally team assignment day, and the Inuzuka brothers were more than excited. Because it was also the day their ninja IDs were going to be taken, Tsume had bought each of them a new shinobi outfit the day before. Kiba had gotten a navy blue short-sleeved hoodie, a pair of dark olive green ninja trousers, and a pair of navy blue fingerless gloves. Naruto had gotten a blood-red short-sleeved jacket with a faux fur trim, a sleeveless mesh shirt, black gloves, and a pair of khaki shinobi trousers. After dressing in their new clothes, the boys came down to the room to find Hana busy at the stove, and Tsume reading an issue of Shinobi Daily. Akamaru and Aomaru were play-fighting under the kitchen table. Morning, twerps. Beamed Hana. I hope you like soba. She grinned as she set a steaming bowl before each of her brothers. I wanted ramen, Naruto pouted. Hana's eye earned a murderous glint. Well, you're having soba whether you like it or not. She replied, cracking her knuckles. Naruto gulped. Yes ma'am. As the brothers heartily slurped through their meal, Tsume had left the table, but not before telling the boys to meet her at the Inuzuka shrine after they ate. When they had finished, the brothers proceeded with their mother's orders and went to the family shrine. They found her standing in middle of the shrine, cradling a pair of kodaki. Is that? Kiba pointed, recognizing one of the blades. Tsume smiled. Yes it is, runt. This is the Inuzuka family blade, the Shiraga, trans, White Fang. It was your father's and now it's yours. All right. Cheered Kiba. I get a blade. Ha. Beat that Naruto. Ignoring Kiba's gloating, Tsume presented Naruto with the second kodaki. The blonde unsheathed the blade and looked at it with a questioning gaze before sheathing it back. I'm not worthy. He whispered. I don't think I deserve a blade as fine as this. Kiba stopped his teasing upon hearing his brother's words. Well, I feel that you deserve it, Tsume reasoned firmly. Naruto looked up to his mother. What do you mean? I'm not even a blood Inuzuka. Not a blood Inuzuka. The Inuzuka matriarch roared, fire flashing in her eyes. Runt, you may not have been born an Inuzuka, but I'll be damned if you didn't act like one. Your actions yesterday not only proved your utmost loyalty to the village, but also saved your teacher from a terrible injustice. It's not blood that makes an Inuzuka, it's the doctrines they follow. Loyalty. Trust. Courage. Honor. These are the 4 pillars of the House of Dogs. These are the merits of a true Inuzuka, and you runt, carry them all. Not to mention that you have found your warrior's soul, the will to fight to protect. So take it. Take the Kodaki. Mom's right, Naruto, said Kiba, walking towards them. We may not be linked by blood, but we're still family, and we'll always stick by you no matter what. Emotions flooded through the blonde. Before he knew it, he had run up to his mother and brother and enveloped them in a hug, tears flowing down his whiskered cheeks. Tsame and Kiba returned the hug, both equally touched by the display. After Naruto's little episode, the brothers straightened themselves up and kissed their mother goodbye before speeding off to school with their respective ninja dogs. Wow, Naruto, Kiba looking good, smirked Ino, giving both boys the stare down. Cut it out, Ino pig, called Sakura, dragging her friend away. By the way, Kiba. You look nice. What? You hypocrite, yelled the outraged blonde. As the 2 girls began to bicker back and forth, Kiba looked at Sakura. She did look rather pretty in her red ninja dress and white shorts. He felt himself blush. What's happening? Why am I feeling like this? Hey Kiba, look. There's Hinata. Hi Hinata-chan. Naruto's voice broke Kiba out of his train of thought to wave at the approaching Hyuga. Hinata wore a light blue kimono top with lavender sash over a pair of white ninja trousers. As soon as she saw Naruto, a blush began to quickly form around her cheeks. Kiba noticed it, and turned to Naruto, who seemed oblivious. Great, he thought. The one girl that has a crush on him, and he's too dumb to even notice. Just then, Aomaru jumped out of Naruto's arms and bounded towards Hinata, yipping and jumping around her. The Hyuga's surprised squeak caught Naruto's attention, and he went over and picked the puppy away from Hinata. Sorry Hinata-chan, he grinned, rubbing the back of his head. That Aomaru gets really hyper sometimes. Now if Aomaru could talk, he would have said something along the lines of, I was trying to hook you up, you ungrateful moron. But of course, Aomaru, despite being the son of Kuromaru, still could not talk, so therefore, Naruto had no idea what the puppy's motives were. Okay class, quiet down, called Iruka as he entered the room. Before I start with the team assignments, I would like to announce this year's Rookie of the Year. He pulled out a scroll and opened it. And the Rookie of the Year is unbelievable, he exclaimed, eyes growing wide. For the first time in the history of the Konoha Ninja Academy, we have 2 Rookies of the Year. Congratulations Naruto Inuzuka and Sasuke Uchiha. The 2 boys were immediately swamped with congratulations from their fellow peers. Naruto was genuinely pleased, and though the Uchiha appeared indifferent, inwardly, he was seething. When the general chaos from the well-wishers had simmered down, Iruka continued with his announcements. Also, don't forget to pass by room 201 to have your ninja ID picture taken, and then proceed to room 205 to meet your Jonin senseis. Now for the team lineups. Team 1. As Iruka called out the names on the teams, various thoughts began to race through the Rookie Nine's minds. Man, I hope don't get stuck with the Uchiha team, thought Kiba. He's such a prick. I hope I can be with Naruto-kun, mused Hinata, looking at the boy, and twiddling her fingers. Naruto-kun. Chia. I'd better be in a good team, screeched inner Sakura. I hope the Hokage was logical with his arrangements, thought Shino. I'd better be in the strongest lineup. I will not be dragged down by weaklings, thought Sasuke. Hinata-chan looks kinda red, maybe she'll feel better after I take her to Ichiraku Ramen. Yay ramen, cheered Naruto, while sneaking an occasional glance at the Hyuga girl. TCH. How troublesome, grumbled Shikamaru, looking as peeved as ever. I wanna be on a team with Sasuke-kun, Ino sighed as she gave the Uchiha a wistful look. I hope our new sensei likes barbecue, thought Choji in between bites. Team 7. Rang out Iruka's voice. Shikamaru Nara, Naruto Inuzuka, and Hinata Hyuga. Your Jonin sensei is Kakashi Hatake. Hinata blushed as she looked at her blonde Adonis. Thank you. All right, settle down now, Iruka's voice called out again. Team 8 Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka. Kiba hung his head miserably. Someone up there must really hate me. And Sakura Harano. You're. Huo. Kiba howled, doing a happy dance. I'm on a team with Sakura. Kiba, ground out Iruka. Sit down. Kiba obeyed immediately. Now, as I was saying, the scarred Chunin continued. Your Jonin sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi. Hey Naruto, whispered Kiba. What? Came the irritated reply. I'm on a team with Sakura. Yeah, cry me a river, why don't ya? Naruto grumbled, embarrassed by Kiba's shenanigans. Team 10, Iruka read out the last team on his list. Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akimichi, and Shino Aburame. Ino's shoulders slumped at the announcement. Your Jonin sensei is Asuma Sarutobi. You are now all dismissed and I wish you the best of luck in your career. After the graduates all had their pictures taken and met their Jonin senseis, Naruto, Aomaru, Shikamaru, and Hinata were now the only ones left waiting in room 205. Where is he? Screeched Naruto, pacing the room back and forth. Naruto-kun, I think you should be a bit more patient, stammered Hinata. Sorry Hinata-chan, Naruto replied sheepishly. It's just that what kind of Jonin sensei is 3 hours late in meeting his own team? Just then, a devilish smirk came across his face as the proverbial light bulb lit over his head. Heh. So he likes being late, eh? Let's see how he likes this, he snickered evilly as he propped a chalkboard eraser over the door. Naruto-kun, called Hinata. I don't think you should do that. Naruto looked at Hinata strangely. He deserves it. Besides, I haven't had a good prank in a while. Aomaru yipped in agreement. See, even Aomaru thinks so too. Just let him do his prank before he gets too troublesome. Shikamaru yawned lazily. Yo. The door opened a crack and a shaggy gray head popped in, only to be beamed by a chalkboard eraser. That's our Jonin leader, thought Shikamaru and Hinata in unison. Naruto, on the other hand, was rolling on the floor laughing. He fell for it. I can't believe he fell for it. The Jonin raised his visible eyebrow. My first impression on this team. I don't like you. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru fell down anime style. Couldn't their Jonin leader at least be a bit more tactful? Okay, let's move, said the Jonin, motioning for his charges to follow him. Where are we going, sensei? Asked Hinata, gathering up all the courage she could to ask the question. The Jonin turned to the Hyuga and gave her his infamous eye smile. You'll see. Now follow me. At the academy rooftop, Team 7 was gathered around a semicircle as they began their orientation. Okay. Hummed the Jonin thoughtfully. I'd like each of you to share a little bit of something about yourselves. Ugh. What a drag. Groaned Shikamaru. And what may that something be? You know, said the ninja, waving his hand dismissively. Your likes, dislikes, future plans, hobbies, and crap like that. So why don't you start? Dared Naruto. Okay, said the Jonin. My name is Kakashi Hatake. What I like and dislike are none of your business. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Hinata sweat dropped. My future plan is. I don't know. And I have too many hobbies to mention. By the time Kakashi was finished, the rest of Team 7 was staring at him like some sort of freak show. Well, said the Cyclopean Jonin. Who's next? How about you? He asked, pointing to Naruto. Naruto jumped up and faced his team. Heyo, I'm Naruto Inuzuka. I like ramen, my nindog Aomaru, and hanging out with my friends. I don't like bullies, mean people, and traitors. My hobbies are gardening, training with Aomaru, testing different kinds of ramen, and messing with my brother Kiba. My dream is to be the greatest Hokage ever. Believe it. Okay. Said Kakashi. That's the #1 rookie? Well, he's got guts, I can see that. He still has a long way to go. You're next. He chirped, pointing at the bored Shikamaru. Troublesome. Yawned the lazy Nara. The name's Shikamaru Nara. I like clouds and stars. I dislike work in troublesome situations. My hobbies include cloud watching, stargazing, and playing shogi or go. My dream is to live the life of an average ninja, marry someone that's neither too pretty nor too ugly, have 2 kids, a girl, then a boy, and peacefully die in my sleep before they do. Well, that was rather detailed, Kakashi said. Humph, as lazy as every other Nara male. Let's see if he inherited their legendary genius. Hinata was last to go. My name is Hinata Hyuga. I'll like. She looked at Naruto and blushed. The blonde may have been oblivious, but Kakashi caught it. I dislike people who call others weak. She spoke with such ferocity, startling Kakashi. A meek and humble Hyuga, now that's new, mused Kakashi. And she seems to like that blonde Inuzuka kid, he chuckled inwardly. My hobbies are making medicinal ointments and flower pressing, Hinata continued. And my dream is to become confident enough to change the Hyuga clan for the better. Well then, said Kakashi, clapping his hands together. Now that we know each other, I'd like to brief you on the duties of a genin. The life of a genin is not exactly glamorous. In fact, you'll be performing many demeaning chores before you do anything remotely adventurous. Oh great, snorted Shikamaru. Chores. If I wanted to do that, I could have done that at home. Are we going to start today? Because if we are, I have a feeling that this is really going to be a drag. Kakashi gave his infamous eye smile. Actually today, you won't be doing anything. Shikamaru breathed a sigh of relief. However, tomorrow morning we'll be doing some training instead. Naruto could barely contain his excitement. What kind of training, sensei? Sparring? Water walking? New jutsus? Kakashi just smiled on. Nope, and definitely no. You'll just have to see tomorrow. Meet me by the Konoha footbridge at 6 o'clock sharp. Dismissed. As the new genin turned to leave, Kakashi called their attention once more. And one more thing, don't eat breakfast tomorrow. Why? Hinata asked. Kakashi continued smiling before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Because you'll throw up. Well, that was weird, remarked Shikamaru. Even weirder than Shino? Asked Naruto. At the barbecue grill, Shino suddenly sneezed hard, sending a bug-filled snot rocket, grossing out his sensei and teammates. Someone better not be talking about me. Chapter 5, Jingling the Bells. Good morning. Naruto called out to his teammates as he and Aomaru arrived at the wooden bridge. Hinata blushed and greeted him in return, whereas Shikamaru opened an eye in acknowledgement. However, there was no hide or hair of their Jonin leader. So, where's Kakashi? Asked Naruto, looking around. Shikamaru shrugged. Beats me. Arg. Growled Naruto in aggravation. He's doing it again. Team 7 waited for what seemed to be an eternity. 3 hours later, Kakashi finally arrived in a poof of smoke. Yo! Chirped the Jonin. You're late. Accused Naruto, irately marching towards the Jonin and pointing at his compass watch. Aomaru growled in agreement. Kakashi just gave him a nice smile. Sorry about that. There was this monkey on a unicycle and I just had to watch it. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru just gave him a, yeah, and just who are you trying to kid, look. Ignoring his charges, Kakashi pulled out 4 bento boxes from his backpack. Soon after that, he took out a pair of bells and tied them around his waist. Seeing that his students were giving him confused looks, he decided to explain his actions. Remember when I told you not to eat breakfast? Naruto, Shikamaru, and Hinata nodded. Well, Kakashi continued. The goal of this test is to capture the bells from me. If you fail to get a bell, you'll be tied to the post over there and watch as I eat your lunch. Team 7 blinked at their sensei in shock. He was even more sadistic than the entire Umbu torture and interrogation. So, are you ready? Kakashi smirked under his mask. The genin nodded in response. Okay then, begin. Aomaru, let's do this. Yelled Naruto. Shikyu no Jutsu. As Naruto's appearance became more feral, the Inuzuka and his dog charged towards Kakashi trying to catch him. Whoops. Too slow, mocked Kakashi as he dodged one of Naruto's swiping blows. Hinata and Shikamaru watched in shock as Kakashi suddenly intercepted Naruto and Aomeru's attacks and countered them with a split kick. Dang, he's fast, thought the Nara genius as he watched Kakashi beat the ever-living crap out of Naruto and Aomeru. Ninpo, Senin Garashi! Yelled the masked nin, jabbing two of his fingers right up Naruto's butt crack. The Inuzuka he shot up into the air with a howl of pain. His canine partner ran into Naruto's general direction, hoping to find him. So Kakashi was cut off in mid-gloat when a pale hand brushed by him. He dodged and turned quickly enough to find Hinata in her Gyuken stance. The Hyuga activated her Byakugan and scanned for the right Tenketsu points. Finding them, she soon sent another flurry of strikes towards the Kopinen. He leapt backwards, forming hand signs automatically, inwardly impressed at the need to actually use one of his 1,000 jutsus. Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu. A great blast of fire rocketed from the Jonin's mouth towards the pale-eyed girl. Her reflexes kicking in, Hinata ducked as the attack blazed over her head. Kakashi was amazed the fireball was far too large to be easily dodged. And Hayashi had doubts about her skill. Hinata quickly jumped back up to renew her attack, but Kakashi was faster. In the blink of an eye, he had grabbed her from behind, incapacitating her. Just then, a lone shuriken whizzed towards him, and he leapt away, the weapon veering into the distance. Kakashi followed the trajectory to find Shikamaru standing on an outcrop of rock. The silver-haired man smirked. Things were finally getting interesting. Naruto and Aomeru were working their way back to the battle when a shuriken flew past them before finally embedding itself into a nearby tree. Recognizing the scent the weapon emitted, Naruto realized that this was his ticket to getting back. With Aomeru tracing out the scent trail, Naruto quickly made his way to aid his teammates. Putting effort for once in his life, Shikamaru aimed another volley of shuriken towards the Kopinen, buying more time for Hinata to attack once more. Kakashi was practically at his wits' end. His strongest jutsus were far too powerful, and his weakest far too inefficient. He dodged away from Hinata's palm and grabbed her wrist before swinging her away from him. Although Kakashi did not use his full strength, the amount of force he used was enough to throw the Hyuga off balance. Fortunately, Naruto arrived just in time to catch her. "You okay?" he asked. Hinata nodded, blushing. Gently setting her down, Naruto's gaze turned to Kakashi, who was starting to look rather winded. Suddenly, an idea clicked, and he shifted into the Inuzuka taijutsu stance. "Can you still fight, Hinata-chan?" "Yes," answered the kunoichi, following suit with her Gyuken stance. Grinning fearfully, Naruto charged with Hinata right behind him. And although Kakashi managed to block every attack the Inuzuka duo and Hinata made, the two of them were giving him a lot more trouble than any genin ever would. As Kakashi dodged the combined assault of Hinata, Naruto, and Aomeru's taijutsu, he never noticed someone quietly utter, "Kagame no jutsu." Within seconds, Kakashi found his limbs completely immobilized. Turning his head, he found Shikamaru Nara with his hands in the rat seal. "Very clever," mused the Kopinen. "Inuzuka and Hyuga distract me and you trap me. So you do understand the point of this exercise?" "Of course," yawned Shikamaru. "This exercise is about teamwork. The idea that a bunch of fresh genin like us can single-handedly beat a jonin like you is just preposterously troublesome." Kakashi looked at his team and saw bright, hopeful faces, faces that were becoming of great ninjas. "Well then," he said in a solemn tone. "I have no choice but to." The genin gulped in fear and anticipation. "Pass you!" chirped the Kopinen, practically beaming. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Hinata looked at each other. Did they just hear him right? They passed? Just then. "Yippee!" Naruto screeched. He immediately began dancing with Aomeru. Hinata merely blushed and twiddled her fingers, and Shikamaru sighed in relief. Suddenly, there were 3 simultaneous growls, and the genin looked at Kakashi sheepishly. "Oh right." Kakashi laughed lightly and handed his charges 3 of the bento boxes. "Here are your lunches. Enjoy. You guys deserve it." Looking at the now official Team 7, Kakashi could not help but smile at the first and only team that understood the concept of his exercise. As his eye came across the blonde Inuzuka, he could not help but be reminded of two certain members on his own team from his genin days. Omake, teammate. Kurenai Yuha was having a field day. With an elitist Uchiha, the rowdiest Inuzuka, and a civilian-born genin on her team, it was apparent that her lineup would need a lot of shaping up and a saint's worth of patience to deal with. She rubbed her temples as she sat down and introduced herself. My name is Kurenai Yuha. I enjoy drinking tea and working in my garden. I don't like perverts and narrow-minded people. My hobbies are reading and watching out for my friend Anko. My dream is to ensure that I will make productive ninjas out of my teams. Who's next? Kiba, who was always enthusiastic, was first. The name's Kiba Inuzuka. I like bugging my brother Naruto and playing with my dog Akamaru. I dislike cats and butt faces like Sasuke Uchiha. At this, the Uchiha heir glared at him. My hobbies are hanging out with my friends and coming up with new pranks. My dream is to be the best hunter-nin in the shinobi world. A little rough around the edges, but with the right motivation, he might just achieve his goal. Very good, Kurenai called. Next. It was now Sakura's turn. I'm Sakura Harano. I like. She looked at Kiba and blushed. I dislike bullies and idiots. My hobbies are reading and hanging out with my friends. My dream is to be a great ninja despite my civilian origins. A little fangirlish towards the Inuzuka, but she has the determination and willpower to become a good ninja. Kurenai thought. Sasuke was last. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like very few things and dislike many other things. My hobbies are training to become stronger, and my dream is to kill a certain man and avenge my clan. At the rate he's going to end just like that man. Maybe I can still dissuade him from the path of destruction, mused the red-eyed jonin. Anyway, now that we know each other, I have test for you. Kiba groaned. Another test? I thought we were past that after we graduated from the academy. Actually, this test is to see if you're ready to become true genin, came a new voice. Team 8 looked up to see a kunoichi with purple hair pulled into a messy bun. She was dressed in a mesh bodysuit with a yellow mini-skirt over it, covered by a tan trench coat. Her face was pulled into a sadistic smirk that made Akamaru shiver in Kiba's hoodie. Who the heck are you? Sasuke asked apprehensively. Team, replied Kurenai. This is the Anko I was talking about. At this, Anko's grin grew wider. She'll be helping us with our exercise. All you have to do is just try to touch the hem of my sleeve. But of course, in order to do that, you'll have to get through Anko, and she's quite notorious for playing rough. Anko pulled out a pair of kunai from her trench coat. I hope you're ready, kiddies, she grinned. Because I hope your blood is as sweet as you look. The children immediately scattered as Anko hurled the kunai. Kiba grabbed Sakura and ducked into a nearby bush. Damn. Kiba swore. That chick is psycho. There's no way we can break into her defense. Maybe we can, whispered Sakura. What do you mean? Asked Sasuke as he appeared beside the two. Among all of us, you're the weakest. Aside from your chakra control and a few measly genjutsu, you're basically useless. Sakura hung her head. Her eyes began to glisten with tears. Kiba had heard enough by that point. Listen you. He rasped, grabbing Sasuke by the collar of his bodysuit. Sakura is not useless. Unlike you, she doesn't look down on others despite her excellent grades, and at least she's trying to help, so unless you have any bright ideas, I suggest you shut your trap and help us. Guys, stop it. Sakura cried. Just listen to my idea. Kiba gave Sasuke one last glare before unceremoniously dropping him to the ground. The Uchiha gave a condescending snort at both his teammates before listening to Sakura's plan. Sasuke and I will distract Anko via genjutsu and taijutsu. Sasuke will attack Anko head-on, and while she's busy, I'll cast the most powerful academy genjutsu I know. Kiba, that's where Akamaru's dynamic marking comes in. I'm pretty sure that even crazy people like Anko will hate being peed on. You on the other hand, could use your Shikyu no Jutsu and increase your speed, allowing you to slip past Anko and get to Kurenai-sensei. So what do you think? Kiba and Sasuke stared at Sakura. The plan was rather risky, but if executed properly, it should be able to work. The Harino was no Shikamaru, but she wasn't stupid either. It was decided that they use Sakura's strategy. After all, any strategy was better than no strategy. As planned, Sasuke attacked Anko directly. And despite his psychological shortcomings, the Uchiha was actually a decent enough fighter to distract Anko long enough to have Sakura cast the genjutsu on her. Being a Takubutsu Jonin, Anko was able to dispel the genjutsu rather quickly, but not quick enough to find Akamaru use his dynamic marking. As predicted, Anko was so grossed out that she began to freak. In fact, she was freaking out so badly that she did not even hear the cry of Shikyu no Jutsu. It was during this time that Kiba took the chance to touch Kurenye's sleeve. By the time Anko had calmed down, it was already game, set, match. "Congratulations," said Kurenai. "Not only did you show an excellent display of teamwork, but you displayed creativity in battle as well. I hereby declare Team 8 an official genin team." Kiba gave a victory whoop, grabbed Sakura, and danced with her. Akamaru was yipping with joy, and Sasuke smirked cockily. Anko, on the other hand, did not look too happy. Today was probably the most humiliating day of her life. Peed on by a dog and tricked by a group of genin. If her colleagues ever got wind of what had transpired that day, she would probably never hear the end of it. Chapter 6, Hanging Out and Training. AHH. "This is the life," sighed Kiba as he lay under a tree with Akamaru snuggled next to him. "I know what you mean," replied Choji as he ate his chips beside Kiba. It was a rare day for the rookie 9-Sasuke, as it was the first time they hung out together since they were assigned to their respective teams. It was a balmy August afternoon and the perfect opportunity for the 8 friends to spend their free time at Konoha Park. People passed by the 8 genin whilst smaller children ran about in the green grass. Ino and Sakura were arguing about mundane matters, while Shikamaru was observing the clouds as he lay beside Choji. Shino was bug-watching, and Naruto was animatedly chatting with Hinata, who simply listened as she held Aomaru. Anyway, he had the guts to throw a hissy fit right inside the Hokage's office, said Kiba, making various motions with his hands. He was all like, "I'm an Uchiha, I deserve a real mission, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we all deserve a real mission at some point in time, and I know that Akamaru and I really hated the Retrieve Tora mission, but we don't yank about it to the Hokage. It's just bad juju. So anyway, the Hokage gave us our first C-class mission," Kiba continued. "We'll be escorting some old fart to surf country or something." "It's wave country, moron," corrected Naruto, slapping Kiba at the back of his head. "Don't hurt Kiba," yelled Sakura, slapping Naruto at the back of his head. "Sakura-chan is right, Naruto-kun," said Hinata disapprovingly. "You shouldn't hit Kiba-kun like that." "Oh, alright," pouted Naruto. "Sorry Kiba." "Haha. Hinata's got you whipped," teased Kiba, laughing and pointing at his brother. Beside him, Choji choked while trying to suppress a snicker. At Kiba's comment, said Hyuga blushed. "Kiba." Sakura put a hand on her hip to signify annoyance. Kiba immediately clammed up. "Okay, I'll stop now." Just then, Sasuke passed by the 8 friends. Choji waved him over. "Hey Sasuke, why don't come join us? It's a lot better than being out there all by your lonesome." Sasuke glared at the rotund boy. "As if I would ever hang out with losers. Especially a fat one such as yourself." At the Uchiha's words, a deathly silence draped across the 8 other rookies. Sasuke had just committed a grave taboo. And then it came. "I am not fat." Throwing down his potato chip bag, Choji lunged towards Sasuke. It required the combined strength of Kiba, Shikamaru, Naruto, and Shino to keep the furious Akimichi from throttling their former classmate. Ino looked at the Uchiha disbelievingly. Whatever childhood crush she had for Sasuke immediately dissolved at his harsh words. Then old memories came flooding back to her. Primping herself to make her the prettiest girl in school. Blowing off her friends whenever the Uchiha was near. Violently rejecting the food Choji offered to her because of her diet. She could not believe she had a crush on such a boy during her days at the academy. The other village girls could keep him for all they cared. Sasuke Uchiha! She yelled, grabbing his collar. You take that back. Choji is not fat. He's big-boned, you hear? Big-boned. Now the other 7 rookies were looking intently at Ino. Ino Yamanaka, who put image as priority 1, was actually defending Choji Akimichi, who was, well, to put it nicely, well-fed. HN, grunted the Uchiha, as he pried Ino's hands off his shirt and walked away. Kiba glared at the Uchiha's retreating back. Sometimes I don't know what I hate more, that cat Tora, or Sasuke team. Akamaru and Aomaru barked and Kiba smiled at the puppies. Yeah, I guess it'd be Tora the Hellcat, but the Uchiha team is a close second. Well, I for one find the Uchiha highly objectionable. His attitude is exponentially abhorrent, remarked Shino. Will you ever use 2-syllable words in your sentences? Asked Naruto. Just then, the ever-reliable Shikamaru came to the rescue. Naruto, you're so troublesome. Shino said that he hates Sasuke and that his attitude stinks. Personally, I agree. That Uchiha is just dash. Let me guess, Kiba snorted. Troublesome. Yep, Shikamaru confirmed. Geez Shika, just about everything for you is troublesome. Said Ino, rather aggravated. Turning to Choji, she asked, how are you, big guy? Feeling any better? After seeing Ino defend him, Choji had significantly calmed down, but he was still angry at the Uchiha. Still too angry to speak, he simply nodded and opened another bag of chips to quell his rage. Looking at Ino, Sakura could not help but smile at her best friend. Catching Sakura's smile, Ino could not help but feel a little concerned. What? She queried. Nothing. Sang Sakura. Come on. Tell me. Whined Ino. You know begging doesn't work with me, said the pinkette with a wink. Whatever happened to, there are to be no secrets between us. Ino huffed, crossing her arms. I can't believe you broke our pinky promise. Some best friend you are. All right already, sheesh. Stop it with the guilt. Said Sakura. It's you and Choji. So far that I know, you're always nagging him about the way he eats and how he looks. But when Sasuke called him fat, you got mad and yelled at him. What's up with that? I thought Sasuke was your Prince Charming. Forward, said Ino. There are times when what happens in the academy stays in the academy. With the exception of Shika, Choji has been my friend longer than anyone I know. Sasuke was nothing more than a childish dream. Choji and I may not see eye to eye, but even I know better than to call him fat. When Sasuke insulted him, it made me mad. I realize now that looks don't matter much if the attitude stinks. But still, I'd rather be beautiful inside and out. Everyone stared at Ino. Who knew that under the shallow, fangirlish exterior was a true and loyal friend? Good for you, Ino, replied Hinata. You're a good person. I agree with Hinata. Said Naruto. You're not that bad, Ino. Believe it. The 8 genin stayed in the park a little while longer. Not long after, Sakura left, stating that she had to get ready for her mission. Noting this, Kiba decided to leave as well, but not without dragging his brother along. Naruto, who was chatting with Hinata, was rather upset, until Kiba bribed him with the promise of him covering for Naruto's ramen bill at Ichiraku's. Naruto and Kiba said their goodbyes and left with Naruto constantly waving at Hinata, who blushed and waved back. However, instead of going home, the Inuzukas directly headed towards the training grounds. Geez Kiba, what got your briefs in a twist? Grumbled Naruto. Just shut up and spar with me. Said Kiba, unsheathing the Shiraga. Akamaru barked in agreement and took to the front lines. Naruto smirked. Oh. So yeah, wanna tussle, eh? Okay, I'm game. He cried, unsheathing his own Kodaki. Aomaru jumped beside him. Let's do this. Shikyu no Jutsu. Yelled both boys in unison. In a few moments, the only thing that could be seen was a flurry of kicks and strikes. The boys were at a speed that could almost be parried with Rock Lee, a student of the eccentric Might Guy. At the last strike, there was the familiar clang of the 2 Kodaki striking each other, signifying the end of that particular round. Huffing and puffing, the two boys and their dogs were at a standoff. Kiba was faster, but his strikes were less accurate. Naruto, on the other hand, had more rhythm, but it was clear that he was struggling to keep up with his brother. As the brothers locked eyes with each other, they knew it was time. Taking a soldier pill out of their pouches, they fed it to their respective dogs and saw them change. Akamaru, as expected, turned red, while Aomaru turned into a rich indigo color. Making the necessary hand signs, the Inuzuka brothers yelled, "Jujin Bunshin no Jutsu." Aomaru and Akamaru disappeared into two clouds of smoke only to reappear as a perfect clone of Naruto and Kiba, respectively. Letting out a battle screech, the brothers and their clones went right on to round 2. This fight was intense. The two Kibas were completely on the offensive while the two Narutos had to hold their defense. A sweep kick from one Naruto ended Kiba's offensive barrage. Kiba looked up to see Naruto with a smirk plastered on his face. The brown-haired Inuzuka returned the expression. This could only mean one thing. A unified cry of Gatsuaga rang throughout the training grounds. The two boys and their clones erupted into whirlwind drills as they ripped through each other. Drill after drill until both boys were rather exhausted. Akamaru and Aomaru looked a bit rather worse for wear. Kiba tried to give a swing, but he found that he could no longer move his arms. Naruto tried to lunge, but his legs had stiffened from exhaustion. The fight was officially a stalemate. Dropping unceremoniously to the ground, the boys looked at each other for a long time. Then Naruto began to laugh. "What's so funny?" asked Kiba, feeling rather offended. "It's ha. Our hee hee. Fight," wheezed the blonde. "I never thought it would end in a draw." "Yeah, well that's because I'm just that good," Kiba bragged. Akamaru yipped. "See, even Akamaru thinks so," he quipped. "And what am I?" huffed Naruto. "Cat food." It was now Kiba's turn to laugh. "Yeah you were," he chuckled. "Especially at the Tora mission. When you got home, Mom had to hose you down just to get rid of the smell of cat." Naruto glared at his brother. "Well, you're one to talk. After you did that mission, I heard you screaming, 'Mommy, he's got me. Make the demon cat go away, Mommy,' in your sleep." "Ha. That was priceless. My only regret is that I never got it on tape." "Touché," Kiba remarked. As soon as they were well rested enough, the brothers and their dogs left the training grounds and went home laughing and joking along the way. That's it for part 1. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.